Welcome to Talk of the Town, proudly brought to you by Uniquely Nelson. I'm your host, Chris Butler. With me, Simon Duffy, once again, General Manager of Uniquely Nelson. Nice to have you here.
Good morning, Julie. Good morning, Chris.
Today we're coming to you, check this out, the Suter Art Gallery. I mean, if we're talking about colour, this is the place to come, isn't it? Look at this backdrop. It's just absolutely beautiful. Joining us today is Julie Catchpole, who's the director of the Suter Art Gallery. Welcome, Julie.
Hi.
Welcome.
Lovely to see you here. So the first question, Julie, is, can you tell us a little bit about your background and where do you originally hail from?
Well, I originally hail from Wellington.
Aha.
And I went off to university in Christchurch, and first of all at art school, and then I swapped to doing a BA and an MA in art history. In those days, you could do lots of impractical things.
Yes, right. No problem at all.
That's right. Art history, classics, American studies, religious studies. Where are you going to get a job with that?
Well, I was going to ask you how you got an actual job, but so why? So Victoria University right on the doorstep. Why go to Canterbury? Was it just that their arts course was the thing at the time, or
at that time, really, the two art schools are Auckland and Christchurch, and so I really wanted to go to art school.
Yes, absolutely, because Wellington itself, I mean, that's got a pretty dynamic art scene itself, isn't it?
These days, it has.
Yeah.
These days, you can do art in Wellington at Massey University and other places besides.
Right.
But you couldn't then. I mean, we're talking late 70s here.
Right. So
early 80s.
It was all about state services and.
Yeah. Actually, after I finished university and moved back to Wellington, the thing that got my foot in the door of art gallery work was a PEP scheme. So it's probably only older listeners that will know about those.
I remember.
That's right. What did that stand for? PP?
I can't remember.
People placement?
Yeah, it was something like that. But it was basically to get you into the workforce. Wasn't it? It was a leg up into different areas. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started off at the National Art Gallery, which is these days it's part of Te Papa.
Yeah, right.
But that was fantastic. And poor National Art Gallery at that time was really, really underfunded. And so just about everybody there was on some scheme or other.
Yeah, right.
But it got my foot in the door, and I went from there to working at the Dowse Art Museum in Lower Hutt. And then I went up to Auckland, and I was based in the Auckland Museum, and I went out and gave advice to museums and galleries from Taupo North.
Oh, wow.
Which was also great fun and really, really super interesting. And especially working in a place like the Auckland Museum.
Yeah, right, yes.
Or being based in there. And then I went to Palmerston North, where I was director of the art gallery there, and then eventually I became director of a combined art gallery, science centre and museum. So these days it's called Te Manawa. And then I came here.
So you've always been involved in the arts, and I've known you since I came back to Nelson, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, especially the Suter Art Gallery. But how did you get involved in the administration and the management of something like this or previous places you mentioned around the country? How did you step from being an artist into?
Well, after I left university, I was more an art historian.
Yeah.
So, which suits me well to working in an art gallery. But it was that jump from when I was working in Auckland to becoming director of the Manawatu Art Gallery that started that trajectory of being a director of an art gallery.
So, so that's what I was going to ask. So, in your childhood, art always part of your life, and was it an interest, or were you actually an artist as well, or were you just more interested in the history of art? And
well, I loved art as a child, and at high school I did art, and I did art history too. That was a subject then. So yeah, I've just always loved being around art.
Yeah. And art history wouldn't be that easy, wouldn't it? I mean, there's a lot to research. I mean, it's a massive subject, isn't it?
It's a really, really cool subject to do at high school. It was a relatively newish subject then, but you learned about history and you learned about art and artists and through right across time, really.
So, how far did you just do art history? How far would you go back? How far would you study back to the beginning of time, or going back to the Middle Ages, or Roman times, or
All of that.
All
All of
all
that. Ancient Egypt, you name it.
Yeah.
But when I did art history at school and university, it was very much a sort of European perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Although they had their sort of lineage back to ancient Egypt, in the Roman and Greek. And these days, if people were doing that sort of subject at school or university, they'd be learning about New Zealand art and Māori art and all sorts of other expression.
So when you were at university or the art history side, is that something that you do in your youth? Is it something you'd encourage young people coming to today, going to university, to pick up on the art space and the art history be an important part of that, the understanding of art, whether become an artist or an administrator, but have an understanding of where we've come from?
I think so. At the moment, the BA, which I would have done as an endangered species, and I think that's a tragedy, because you can, in a BA, if there's enough subjects offered at a university, learn the most extraordinary range of things and about how cultures work, or like in my case, religion. I'm not a religious person, but it shapes our societies.
Absolutely, having a better understanding. I think if a lot of people studied more of other people's religions or their art, their culture, we wouldn't be where we are today. It's understanding other people through art.
Yeah, and how it does shape us as people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned that you became director of Manawatu. It was at the museum, did you say?
No, well, to begin with, it was the art gallery.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So the art gallery sits next to what was the Science Centre in Manawatu Museum, and then we amalgamated it together, and it's now called Te Manawa. And it also these days includes the New Zealand Rugby Museum.
Oh, as well. Nice mix.
It's a form of art, isn't it?
That hadn't happened in my time there, although we were starting to think about moving that towards being part of that complex.
Oh, well, you might, if you're lucky, you might have the Ranfurly Shield on display here over the summer. It's a piece of art. So, and then the journey to Nelson. So was it directly from there to Nelson, or did you?
No, I had a bit of time out in the wilderness doing some other things, lecturing in
New Zealand or overseas?
No, when we were still in Palmerston North, and then the opportunity came here. So I first came here as a contractor because the art gallery was in a bit of a transition phase from being a private trust with a little bit of funding from the council, and its governance got changed so that it became more closely linked with the city council. We even had our own Act of Parliament, and to get closer to the council, we had to have that repealed.
Oh, right.
So it's a strange little quirk that's, there are other things around New Zealand, and also in Nelson, that have had their own Acts of Parliament to set them up. So that Act of Parliament was from 1896.
I was going to say, so if you look at the history of Suter, do you know much about, history, here we go, of why the Suter was established and how it got established in Nelson? Because, Nelson was a pretty early settlement, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, the New Zealand Company, for better or worse,
yes,
worse in a lot of cases, set up here from 1840. So on the site where we're sitting, if you like, there was a building here that was a school from 1843. And we had the provincial government here. They had big fancy buildings next door.
Oh, yes.
Where the court is now. That's why the court is there. So we had a whole lot of things going on here, and they were before the Suter got established. And the schools board that ran the school that was here and other ones through the district wound up when the government took over things like education. And Bishop Suter had been involved in that, amongst many other things besides. He, when he passed away, his widow approached people about his collection and his vision to have an art gallery, and kind of coinciding, if you like, with that, the Nelson School Board had this property here available, even though Amelia had left a piece of land in Hardy Street.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, they took up the offer of this land here, and then they built what we now call the original gallery, or the Bishop Suter Memorial Gallery. So that's the building that you see from Bridge Street.
Right. Okay.
So that opened in 1899.
Wow.
Yeah.
So big history. And that was a private trust. Is that right?
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
And when you say Act of Parliament, what does that mean? Does that mean
it set up the form of the trust,
right? Gotcha.
and how that trust could operate. But the form of that trust didn't really suit in contemporary times, where we want, more transparency and better funding.
So the
Or stability.
Stability. We're looking for stability. This year is 125 years, I believe.
Yes, that's why we're
Wow.
this exhibition that we're sitting in, which is called Outrageous. It's a combination of early artworks into our collection and how the collection got going, and then some of the collection controversies, of which we've had no shortage of over the years, and will probably continue to do so, because the art can certainly stir people up.
It can. What do you think? What's your main goals for the Suter Art Gallery? You've talked about where it's come from and where we sit here today. What do you think the main goals are for the Suter in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years or onwards?
Well, we've got this mandate or phrase that we use, making art matter. Right. So that can be encouraging everybody to come in and enjoy art, and give opportunities for artists to exhibit as well. So that's various ways of making art matter. We're really big into education here, and we've got this absolutely brilliant schools education programs going on, but we also have classes for adults, and we have talks and all sorts of things like that, and I'd hope that we can keep on developing that and keep that excellent reputation.
Because just in front of you on the other side of that wall is where schools can come in, as you just talked about, or other people. In the far corner there, what's that gallery called? Is that for Nelson artists?
Yes, so quite interesting and unusual for a public gallery in New Zealand. We also have a gallery space for the Nelson Suter Art Society, who actually predate us, and another of Bishop Suter's initiatives. He had this thing called the Bishop Dale's Sketching Club.
Oh, right. Okay.
What are we doing this weekend?
That's and you sort of, they'd set some task or thing and go out and sketch and then critique the work. So that's how they started, and so they're part of this complex too, and that's their members gallery, which is called McKee Gallery, and they have regular shows of their members. McKee
Gallery, that's right. My mother was Susan art teacher at Bore Green, and I think she was the exhibitions officer for 150 years or something next door. And as a child, I spent many an evening or morning or Saturday picking up or taking down and things. And I couldn't work out the connection with the Suter Art Gallery. Come in there, do our thing, and then leave. But that better explains it.
Yeah, so they do their own thing in a way, because they're their own incorporated society. Yeah,
interesting.
And they've got a good, healthy membership, which is fantastic.
Yep.
At some point, the decision was made. Things are looking a bit shabby here and there, or a bit old. Nelson Museum are, currently trying to deal with that at the moment with their storage facility at Islin, a beautiful new building. Presumably, you swap a few notes with them, do you, with your background?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have to say, when I came here, they just put to bed very reluctantly a whole plan to redevelop the Suter, which was called Suter 2000
Yeah.
project. And they had this fabulous design that maybe at the time it was a bit ambitious, and perhaps just what the timing perhaps just wasn't quite right. But my goodness, by the time we started this redevelopment, we really needed it.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Because it was getting pretty leaky, and not fortunately in the galleries part, but in the cafe and so on. So we had a really good basis to work from, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because of the cafe siting in its beautiful location, the theatre, which we retained through the redevelopment.
And that always been there. When was the theatre set up?
The theatre opened in 1989.
Okay.
Unfortunately, when they went to, well, they built the theatre and then it opened, it was right when the share market crash happened.
All right.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So it had a bit of a rocky start, and it caused the Suter lots of financial problems, but it's a much loved facility.
Oh, it's a great facility, isn't it?
We
Yeah.
used it many times. We were in there last week, weren't we?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
Yeah,
hours
just a
of
great
speaking there.
space. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so when was that completed? Because
The redevelopment,
yeah,
2016.
16. Yeah, right. It's fabulous, isn't it?
Oh,
I mean, the
it's
entrance is just beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
just fantastic. I
Yeah.
mean, before the redevelopment, there was stairs everywhere in the Suter. So anyone with a pushchair, a wheelchair, or any kind of disability, it was really quite difficult to get around, because you had to go upstairs to go into the galleries. You had to go down, well, up and down to go into the theatre. You know,
Yeah,
a disabled
yeah.
person could not engage in anything in the theatre unless they came through the back door over the stage down.
Oh,
the
right.
ramp. Had to sit in the front row. God forbid if you needed to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's right.
Whole palaver all over again, and no accessible toilets, because of course they were down a whole bunch of stairs as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it changed overnight how many people would come and use the Suter, which thrills me no end.
Yes.
So we might have got, before redevelopment, maybe 30,000 visits through, but most years we can look at least getting 100,000 people coming through this facility, using some part of it or coming in. So that, when you think about it in perspective of the population of this region, it's striking well.
Right.
So tell us about, one of the questions is about challenges, but tell us about, we had an interesting conversation with Nelson School of Music and their plan to, or I should say the Nelson Centre of Musical Arts, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so they talked about, the future for them and how they're trying to get into a financially stable position. So what are your challenges on that front?
That's one of our big things too, is that sustainability of resourcing, whether it's people or finances. Yeah. I mean, just for instance, our education programs for schools, we have a contract with the Ministry of Education, and it's contestable. We have to go and bid for it every 3 years. Well, in the current economic climate, is that going to be something that's the government gets rid of while they're sinking the lid? And that'd be a tragedy, because one of the things that we want is to be able to provide free or accessible education, because I mean it's one thing for us to offer it free, but then schools have still got to get here. They'll have a cost getting a bus or getting the kids here. So we want to make it as accessible as possible, so that students from right across the region can come in here and
How far
have these structured programs.
How far are you into that 3-year contract?
It expires on the end of December 2025.
Okay.
So that's an issue looming out there. Our overheads at the Nelson Centre for Musical Arts have got that same issue, and the Theatre Royal will have the same issue. Overheads at the moment are just killing us. Electricity, it's a killer.
Yeah. A lot of light bulbs.
Well,
Those-
what's less the light bulbs, they're LED, but it's air conditioning.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah, it's air conditioning, and that's the same for the Centre for Musical Arts. For our artworks to survive into the future, to be their legacy and benefit to the future, they have to be kept at certain temperature, a nice even temperature and relative humidity. So we've got air conditioning going all the time in these galleries, in the collection storeroom, and that's the same for the Centre for Musical Arts, because they've got the instruments that they have to take care of and nurture and have them last into the future too.
So, Julie, what do you do in your spare time in Nelson? Well, you're not at Nelson, you could be anywhere. What do you do when you're not surrounded by frames?
One of the very special things in Nelson, of course, is the chance to walk on the beach.
Yeah.
That's my ultimate defrag.
Yeah.
Is to walk on to Hunanui Beach. How lucky are we?
Yeah.
Do you have a
that's
dog?
right.
No, I don't.
I've never seen. I moved back to Nelson, and someone said, "Oh, we'll go down the back beach." I'm thinking, I got around there, it's like doggy daycare. There's hundreds and hundreds of those dogs running around.
Yeah. And
It's quite fun.
if you're not a dog owner,
Yeah.
and you're sort of moseying along where I'm kind of in my vague space,
Yeah.
other people's dogs are always kind of jumping on you.
Yeah. It's quite entertaining. On last year, I've just acquired a dog through my partner, and we go down there. But other times before that, I used to go in there, and actually, it's quite entertaining.
Yes.
Because they just go, especially if it's a sunny day and there's maybe 50, 60, 70 dogs. It's actually quite a, you could sell tickets down there. Doggy
that's
doggy
right.
daycare ticket. And it's really entertaining watching other people. It's quite interactive because people stop and talk.
Yeah, people stop and talk. But I always find it quite funny too that people that like swimming and not where the flags are down the back seem to have dogs that don't like water. And you see these dogs sort of pathetically sitting on the edge of the water in a state of complete panic while they're
We steady gone.
while their owners kind of our leader of the pack's out in the water that they don't want to go into. And then, it's the opposite.
Well, they probably know something, because often people get caught in the channel. You know?
Yeah, well, that's that.
Get swept down the channel. So the dog knows better, obviously.
Yeah.
So you operate right in the heart of the city. Do you live in the city as well, close by?
Yes, I live up at Cleveland.
Oh, right. Very
May Road
nice.
area up on the hill up there.
So tell us first of all what you like about Nelson City. Obviously, you've grown up in other towns, you've lived in other towns, and so tell us what you like about Nelson City. But also, I guess from a personal point of view, but also from the Suter Art Gallery's point of view, what would you like to see more of in Nelson?
I think Nelson's pretty special because it's like a boutique city, and I'd like to see it remain with that kind of character. You know, we have these big box malls and things now, but Nelson doesn't have that, and I think that's pretty special. And if we can keep hold of that, I think that will increasingly make it a special destination because it's walkable. And it's got this lovely perimeter walks along the river, out to the port, along the waterfronts. And around in town, and we've been trying to work with makeshift spaces to do things like put the art walk into Nelson and Tasman as well now. If we could get more housing right around the perimeter and apartments in town, I think that will make Nelson City remain alive and vibrant because that's their backyard. So they're going to be. Everyone's going to be really interested in keeping it super nice, and it will support hospitality and it will support retail, a little quirky retail, to keep vibrant.
And it makes cities safer too. More people
It
living in
does,
town.
absolutely. More people in town, the safer it gets. And yeah, so you can have both daytime life and nighttime life then.
At the time of this recording, Clay Week is on at the moment. So people will see it and hear about it. They may have been involved in something, but from your perspective, how's that gone for you?
Clay Week's a fantastic initiative, and next year we can look forward to Nelson Jewellery Week. Clay Week is just brilliant. There's so many people have travelled to Nelson from all over New Zealand, and they're not just here for one day, they're here for a week, you know, and they're moving around the town, they're staying in town, they're going out to Tasman, they're involved in all sorts of activities. We've got things going on here. There's a workshop happening right now while we're sitting here, but there's other workshops going on in town, and there's people that are collectors of ceramics have come down to be a part of it as well, not just the makers. There's all sorts of new connections being made, wonderful connections which will see these people coming back and back.
Because it's the second year, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
It is a great event.
Oh, it's fantastic, and all ups to Tom and Jamie, the kiln, for you know, it's an immense amount of organisation to pull off something like that, and you know, it's so exciting to see that regeneration of energy in the ceramic space, because Nelson had such a reputation for it, and then it kind of went into a lull, and now I can feel that energy back again.
It was great.
Really, really good.
See the top end of Trafalgar Street, the artists and the potters up the top there showcasing their works, and also you could have a go, or you could do some painting, and
the pipe band.
Yeah, there was a pipe band that set the scene.
Oh, that was fun on Saturday.
Yeah.
There's lots of wind blowing.
Yeah, there was. That was great. It was a great atmosphere, actually.
All the one sense.
That was a great atmosphere. Fantastic. All right. Well, look, now's a chance to give a plug. So what's on at the moment we can come and see, and what have you got lined up?
Well, while we're focusing on Nelson Clay Week, we've got this fabulous exhibition on called Hinei Kurangi, which is contemporary Māori clay artists, and there's such an incredible variety of works in there. You know, you can come back, and next time you come back, you notice something different. I mean, here I am, I handled the artworks, and then someone pointed something out to me the other day. I did not notice it. I was so embarrassed. How did I not see that? You know, so it continues to delight me. So it's got plenty of chance for other people to come and revisit and enjoy it. And the way it's laid out too, to get into, it's been thought about from a Māori perspective in its layout, and that's really interesting to kind of, as Pākehā for me, to get to grips with that and why they've done it that way.
Okay. That's currently on at the moment. How long does that go for? Is it because Clay Week's just on for the week? Is it?
Yeah, that exhibition continues on until December.
Okay. That's in the first galleries.
Yes, and the one we're sitting in, Outrageous, finishes this Sunday. And then
you must come down and have a look. There's
absolutely, there's plenty to look at.
Quite a bit of controversial history over there too.
Come and have a look at that.
Yeah.
Don't forget to inform the staff of your opinion.
and then it'll be the Art Society's spring exhibition will be opening in the middle of next week. So that'll be in this gallery and their gallery, and then Whakatū Director that will finish in about another week or so, and we've got a show called Stop Making Sense, which is about surrealism in New Zealand, and it's got works from the Catchpole collection, which is this massive collection that's housed in the Auckland Art Gallery, and it's got other works in it too. So that'll be quirky, it'll have the absurd, and it'll have the surrealism. That's all about.
More of that in Nelson.
Yeah,
That's right.
And that'll be running through the Arts Festival, and that'll be a very cool show too.
Nice, yeah. Well, and we've got the Arts Festival coming up as well, which is great.
Yes,
so, yes.
A lot of puka talks going to be here.
Yep, right.
Yep.
Fantastic. All right, that's great, Julie. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you hosting us at this beautiful venue. and another spectacular backdrop. You must come down and have a look at the exhibitions that are on at the moment. Wish you all the best for what hopefully will be a busy summer for both the gallery and the cafe, of course.
Well, I don't know if this is appropriate to end with. I will be finishing here on the 1st of November.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
Yes.
you're moving on. How's that?
Yes.
Is this an exclusive?
So, well, it is.
Have you-
It is.
It is an exclusive. Wow.
So I
Oh.
hope you will make very welcome my successor, who is called Tony McKinnon, and
right.
she'll be starting here on the 14th of November.
Oh,
So
wow.
please make her welcome.
Yeah.
She's coming here from Napier.
Right.
Oh, great.
Oh,
Yeah.
how's that?
Yeah. So make her an addict of Nelson.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a good excuse to come back and have a chat to her. So tell us, where are you off to?
I'm going to be going back to Wellington.
Back to the capital?
Yes, to my husband, who's been all the 17 years I've been here, he's been living in Wellington.
Oh, is that right?
nice.
Oh, wow. So you've been doing the commute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
right.
So you say, I'm just popping out for a pint of milk. I'll see you in 17 years.
That's right. just going down to Nelson for a bit of a job.
Yeah.
Oh, look, well, now I've got a permanent job. Yeah.
Well, he would have got used to having the house all to himself, wouldn't
Yeah.
he? So that's going to be an interesting negotiation.
Yeah. Believe me, he's nervous.
Oh, well, look, Julie, we wish you all the best. And, pity we didn't get to chat to you earlier, but well done on all the work you've done. You've obviously taken the gallery to another level, and both from an administration point of view, but also what's going on at the moment. So you must be feeling pretty chuffed that you've left it in a better space than it was.
Yeah. Oh, it's been an absolutely brilliant place to work. And Nelson has so many people that are engaged with the arts and passionate about it, and supporters of the gallery. People are very generous here in Nelson. I mean, not just to us, but to the other arts. And long may that be.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Well, thank you very much for all that you've done. We give you best wishes, and enjoy being back in the capital. Watch the space.
Tricky time to be going to Wellington, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
With the sort of changes and things that are going on there.
Well, it might be timely because they need someone that knows how to get a few things done. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Julie. Appreciate your time. You can find this podcast along with others at uniquelynelson.co.nz and talknelson.co.nz and on Spotify. Just look for Uniquely Nelson. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to join us next time for more from Talk of the Town. This is Chris Butler and Simon Duffy signing off. Until next time, Nelson.
Stay uniquely super. Super uniquely. Nelson. Stuff like that anyway.